This man braves temperatures of -30 degrees. Not only did he build a lovely wooden house, but he also enjoys hearty meals. In his free time, he can even play cards with friends. Zes, at 30 years old and still unmarried, decided to build a house in the forest to boost his confidence when dating. They used 100-year-old tree trunks as the foundation. To ensure longevity, they peeled off the bark thanks to the skillful hands of the three brothers. Before long, they had processed the rough logs. Wild animals often came to watch. They arranged the pieces of wood, and it looked great. With the brothers' help, Zes's work efficiency increased. He was so touched that he immediately cooked a feast. The stew was delicious, nutritious, and flavorful. Zes continued building alone. Due to the sturdiness of the house, he drilled holes into each section and then hammered wooden pegs to secure it. When his two companions recovered, they returned to help. The brothers' craftsmanship was quite good, with tight joints. The next day, when dawn broke, they had erected one wall. The secured wooden beams wouldn't shake. Within a week, a simple house had been built in the forest. While they were building, the beavers at the river were also building their dam. Now the brothers had to join the bottom frame to prevent the wood from rotting and being eaten by termites. They applied a layer of paint to the surface. The forest had many wild animals. Zes was still building the toilet to address their sanitation needs. After completing this, they continued building the wooden house. By the time summer arrived, they had a fairly sturdy house frame. They continued processing the other planks. Despite using only hand tools, the planks were evenly cut. That night, he was lucky enough to film beavers building their nest. So both sides chose this land to build their homes. Even though they had enough planks, they still had to remove the bark from both sides. While Zes continued working, unexpectedly, snow returned to the area. He discovered that the joints weren't sturdy enough. So he secured that area with nails. Now they just needed to lift the frame and place the foundation underneath. While waiting, the three brothers placed the wooden foundation on it, ensuring it was level. The house frame didn't collapse, even with strong winds and heavy snow. They temporarily hammered many nails into the roof to prevent too much snow from entering. Afterward, the three brothers enjoyed the grilled fish. The next day, there was still a lot of work to do. A few days earlier, Zes had finished the house frame. Now they had to use the processed logs to build the ceiling. Because he had the help of his two brothers, he decided to install a double ceiling. During the initial installation, he realized it didn't fit properly, so they had to make some adjustments. Now they could fit them together. Then they did the same with the rest. Unfortunately, an accident occurred. Finally, before dark, they finished installing the ceiling. Now the snow wouldn't collapse the tarpaulin. That night, they also filmed deer going to find food. Fortunately, Zes hadn't moved in yet. Otherwise, this house wouldn't have been able to withstand it. The next day when he woke up, he attached a layer of tarpaulin to the wall and then nailed wooden planks to it to make the wall. To speed up the progress, they worked until dark, taking 3 days to build the wall. By this time, it was snowing heavily, plunging the entire forest into a cold scene. This beautiful scenery was worth seeing. Snow covered 20 centimeters of the house. Before the snowfall, Zes had to remove the snow. Despite the heavy snowfall, the house was fine, demonstrating its excellent quality. When Zes pulled down the waterproof sheet, they inserted insulation under the roof. After all, the winter here was very harsh. After the insulation sheets were inserted into the gaps, to prevent water from seeping in, they had to add another layer of tarpaulin. Under the faint sunlight of dusk, Zes began building the roof. When he finished, he looked up and saw that the scenery was beautiful. The entire forest was illuminated, and we could clearly see this ferret. The next day, when he saw a fox looking for food, Zes woke up in the tent and played with the dog for a while. The outside temperature was -20 degrees, and there might be a blizzard. So they didn't plan to go out and build but decided to rest in the tent for a day. With this heavy and sturdy stove, they could use it to cook. Zes stir-fried small pieces of meat and bread, then steamed the mixture. It was a simple but warm meal in the tent. Outside, it was all snow. Since there was nothing to do, Zes shoveled snow next to the toilet. This toilet was only half finished when the blizzard arrived as expected. Zes had to return to the tent and wait for the weather to improve before continuing to build. After the blizzard passed, Zes began building the final wall. The harsh weather slowed down the progress, and it wasn't finished until dark. The next day's sunlight painted the forest with a new coat. The brothers were in good spirits and began using planks to cover the corners of the house. Then they used a saw to cut out a door and went inside to lay the floor. The floor was high off the ground, which could prevent cold air. The progress in this cold weather was slow. Zes's surveillance camera still captured boar going to find food. They kept shedding tears. Sometimes their noses would get blisters. A new day arrived, and the three brothers played for a while before making the door. This wooden door was very delicate, no wonder it took a whole day to make. After having the door, the size of the door frame had to be based on the door. After widening it, the door and the frame fit perfectly. Because the weather was good today, the brothers climbed up to the mountain, then lit a fire. Zes made the eaves for the house and then opened two window frames on both sides. To not waste work time, a wolf shared their meal today. Because the dog stood guard, the wolf didn't dare touch their food. To make the best use of the fire, Zes also roasted some potatoes underneath. The final product wasn't bad. The roasted potatoes could be dipped in chili sauce. Moreover, the roasted chicken also tasted better. He finished a few skewers quickly. After Zes ate, he opened another window on the other side of the house. Then he installed the frame. When installing the glass, I wanted to ask when this house would be finished. But it was already evening. Perhaps Zes liked doors and windows more. He used caulk to seal the gaps. The weather was nice, and the scenery gradually improved. Even though there was still a lot of snow, at night the boar continued to search for food on the ground. But the next morning, there was also sunshine. After finishing the windows, Zes didn't start laying the floor but decided to make a small nest for the birds. After setting up the feeder, the birds flew to the nest to eat. The brothers' working atmosphere was very harmonious. The three brothers made three different types of nests. One like a house, one like a chair, and one like a birdhouse. The efficiency was very high. Soon after installing them, birds came to find food. It seemed they were very hungry this winter. After completing this, they went to the river and found beavers gnawing on trees. They collected some tree sap to facilitate cooking. At this time, Zes continued processing the wooden planks. To ensure warmth in the house, they had to install insulation in the gaps, ensuring the house was warm. After installing the insulation on the walls, they used the processed planks to secure the interior walls. People who see this wooden house wouldn't expect it to be so warm inside. Processing the walls took 3 days. The weather alternated between good and bad, with continuous snowfall. Zes spent a lot of time dealing with the snow. They finished installing all the interior walls. The beaver from before was still gnawing on trees. Zes cut half a piece of salmon and nailed it to a wooden plank. After seasoning it, he set it up next to the fire to grill. Grilling it this way not only cooked the fish thoroughly but also gave it the aroma of pine wood. With the addition of cheese and scallions, it became a delicious dish. Zes ate very happily. I believe you will start laying the floor tomorrow. Today, Zes woke up and had his two brothers install the floor joists. This would create a warm layer underneath. Because the footage was sped up, we saw the brothers working very quickly. Soon they had installed the floor joists. They had been in the tent for over 2 months. In their free time, they would play with the little dog. The next day was a rare beautiful day. Zes quickly took the insulation and laid it on the bottom layer, then laid the wooden planks. Each wooden plank was processed very well, so installing them was as simple as assembling Lego bricks. After laying the floor, the beaver even came to congratulate them, generously bringing back a tree they had cut down. At this time, Zes's house looked much cleaner and more comfortable. The yellow color brought a sense of warmth. In addition to working, he also prepared food for the birds. After preparing food for the birds, Zes brought the stove from the campsite and excitedly installed it near the wall, not on the roof, because he planned to build an attic above. After installing the flue, before installing the stove, he also installed a fireproof board. After all, the stove's temperature was very high, and they couldn't neglect fire prevention. It must be admitted that installing the stove like this resembled an air conditioner. Now that there was a fire in the house, it was definitely warmer than in the tent. To celebrate the completion of the house, Zes cut beef and stir-fried it with vegetables, then put it in a clay pot. Cooking oil was very expensive, so this meal of Zes was very lavish. After the brothers ate and drank their fill, Zes used a brush to apply a layer of wood preservative to the exterior walls. Because his brothers had found work, only Zes was painting. He would live in this house for at least a few years. So he had to do it very carefully. After applying the preservative to the rough wood, the house was beautifully illuminated by the sunlight. The color was also very pleasant. Zes continued processing wood to make the roof. Like on the first floor, he used wooden pegs to secure the materials. After attaching the rafters, attaching the purlins on top, with the help of a plumb line, made the construction much easier. The next day, his brothers arrived early and used nails to secure the frame again, then made the roof trusses on top. After installing the roof, the 3-month-old house in the forest was basically completed. Next, they began decorating. This was the life that many people longed for. The man not only built a comfortable house in the forest but also cleared a garden to grow vegetables. In his free time, he went fishing, planted trees, and solved the problem of firewood, living the life he had always dreamed of. Today, the brothers used the processed planks to wrap the 4 corners of Zes's house and then applied paint to the remaining part of the exterior wall. This was a big project. The next day, they installed the trim, making the house much more beautiful. To give their brother a home, the 3 brothers worked together to decorate. At night, with the lights on, the house looked like something out of a fairy tale. The next day, they found a very large log and cut out the wood inside to make a wooden basin. This basin wasn't used for washing but for making a fire. They used it to roast potatoes, butter, and corn, then put them in the oven. The final result looked tastier than at McDonald's. It's just a bit wasteful of firewood. Fortunately, there was no shortage of wood in the forest. The brothers ate together very happily. The next day, it snowed again, making the weather that had just warmed up turn cold again. Only their dog liked the snow. The snow fell for 3 days. When the weather improved, Zes went out to collect pine resin to fill the gaps in the walls. The golden color of the pine resin didn't detract from the aesthetic value of the small house. After finishing this, Zes also bought a pair of deer antlers and hung them on the trim for decoration. Now he could make furniture for the house. After that, he also bought a rug to cover the floor. The attic was above. He used rope to seal it off. The monotonous walls were enhanced by some decorations. Many of the paintings were drawn by him. After decorating, the eldest brother was responsible for making the bed. He attached the planks to the designated position. Secured with nails, there was immediately a bed frame. The other bed was made in a similar way. During this process, the brothers also thought about living here with Zes in the future. The mattress was attached on top. Just by tightening it, and laying the wooden planks as the bed surface, a 3-meter bed was completed. When his brothers weren't around, the bed below could be used as a sofa and seating. Now it was spring. The forest had the appearance of spring to welcome a harsh winter. Zes stewed a pot of beef. They decided to eat hot pot, so they prepared the broth and cut thin slices of beef. If they replaced the butter with chili oil, I would definitely go there to eat with them. After enjoying this forest-style hot pot, the next day they discovered an ancient tree that was thousands of years old. This tree had a diameter of 88 centimeters, making it very difficult to cut. Fortunately, they had machinery. Together they managed to cut it into a flat surface. They transported the wood back and processed it into planks. Just by using wooden nails to secure them, they had a dining table. Now, placed under the bed, this house was perfect. Living in the forest, you can see many animals and forest fruits. At this time, they took on the job of forest rangers. But after a forest fire, the forest was much more desolate. They called on residents nearby to plant trees together. When ZES completed the final stages of decoration, I really wanted to ask him out. Would you like to live in a house like this?